So, my dear brothers and sisters, there is something that I actually came across, and as I was going through a lot of messages from the prophets of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they were actually speaking about religious freedom. And this is something that the LDS Church or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has been actually on the forefront championing actually religious freedom. And I've heard sermons from Darling H. Oaks speaking about religious freedom. I've heard also debates from Christopherson Golden, and not Christopherson Golden, it is Todd Christopherson, debates and speaks about religious freedom. And I've heard also talks by one of the apostles that ever lived, L. Tom Perry, actually speaking about religious freedom. And there are so many other prophets that have actually been advocating about the religious freedom. And I think during the former American president, Donald Trump, there were some of the delegates from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that ended up meeting with the vice president then, who was called, I think, Vice President Pence. And I remember Apostle Russell M. Ballard speaking, and he was also advocating for the religious freedom, And all of you will all concur with me that actually religious freedom is actually facing a lot of challenges. To an extent that even the way people believe and the way sermons will be preached, they are actually being monitored in a way that you cannot speak your faith as open as you can in whichever parts of the world or even in the church itself. Right from your pulpit, like you need to watch what you're talking about. You cannot freely speak about your worship, your belief, and your God, what you believe in, and cherish in this wonderful principle that you cherish so much, that you are keeping so that it is shaping your life and it is shaping even the society. That these principles, we cannot actually freely speak about them, and I was shocked that in some countries, this freedom is not guaranteed. There are some countries which enjoyed this freedom, but that freedom is being actually threatened right now. They cannot exercise it fully. And as I was listening to the apostles, prophets, and teachers of the gospel in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints advocating for this thing, it was very, 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 very wonderful and great to know that one of the statesmen, stood up one time and signed an executive order. He signed an executive order to ensure that anybody can preach, anybody can believe and speak anywhere, anyhow, right from their pulpits on what they believe in and what they feel, okay? What they feel is right relative to their beliefs, which is something that I understand that at one point it was actually deprived of these people. And this one I had actually to share because to me, it is something that tells me a lot. After all that the prophets and apostles have spoken about and they've warned people about, and this is a president who comes out very clearly and he speaks and he signs an executive order to protect this freedom. Okay? And without further ado, let me just share with you on what exactly President Trump then actually did. Please welcome.
President Donald Trump signed an executive order Thursday easing a number of federal rules affecting religious groups.
No American should be forced to choose between the dictates of the federal government and the tenets of their faith.
During the presidential election, candidate Trump promised evangelical and Catholic voters that he would roll back the Johnson Amendment, an IRS rule discouraging churches from endorsing political candidates.
The Johnson Amendment has blocked our pastors and ministers and others from speaking their minds from their own pulpits.
Thursday's order also promises relief for religious nonprofits who object to mandatory birth control provisions in the Affordable Care Act. This includes organizations like the Little Sisters of the Poor, whose objections to the mandate reached the U.S. Supreme Court last year. The executive order disappointed some of Trump's supporters who were hoping for more sweeping changes, but some saw it as a positive step.
No one surrenders their constitutional rights simply by walking through the church doors, and no church should be forced to surrender its free speech in exchange for a tax status.
The most recent U.S. ambassador for international religious freedom says rolling back IRS rules for religious groups is a bad idea.
How divisive this will be to bring into our houses of worship the notion of endorsing candidates and dividing those houses of worship along political lines.
Only one church is known to have lost its tax-exempt status as a result of the rules against religious political activity. Walter Ratliff, The Associated Press.
My dear brothers and sisters, you can see that is what President Trump then signed. He signed that the religious freedom must be actually exercised, and those who are exercising this freedom must be given the mandate to do so freely and speak out their minds from their own pulpits and be able to share what they believe in from other people and all that. Because if the Constitution tells you that you are free of expression, there is freedom of expression, and then you are denying this religious freedom, okay? Because when you're denying the religious freedom, then where is actually the freedom of expression in the Constitution? Which is something that I heard Elder Todd Christopherson actually speak about. And he said you can never speak of religious freedom, or you can never speak in a constitution of freedom of speech when you are actually taking away, the religious freedom. There can never be freedom of speech without the religious freedom, and that one really resonated with me. That one really resonated with me. And I think the political wing needs to actually be able to differentiate between religion and differentiate religion and politics. And also, the churches also should not take this advantage to an extent that to start now imposing certain candidates to their members that you need to vote for this person. And that is what it's dangerous, because that freedom of election, choosing whoever you want to choose, must come from you, from an individual, not because that it was imposed to you by your church leaders and all that. But religious freedom is key, because that is the only way that people can actually be able to share what the Lord has done for them, and freely when they share their beliefs and what they think it's right relative to what they believe, that freedom needs actually to be guaranteed. And as for me, for what President Trump did then, I think that was an applause. That was kudos to him then. I don't know now. I don't know how people feel about him now. But what he did then was actually godly. Defending the freedom of religion and defending, pastors, evangelical, and any other religious leaders to speak their mind and speak their beliefs, freely from their own pulpits, which is actually a good move to protect that freedom. And that is what President Trump actually did in signing an executive order, in protecting religious freedom then. But I don't know what exactly is happening now. Was this executive order rejected under new administration? I do not know, because I'm a Kenyan. I do not know. But what normally we say, that whatever is happening mostly in the US and other countries in the West, they have a really greater impact in other third world countries, especially, African countries. And that's why even as believers, when we see this debate of religious freedom is being actually, discussed every now and then, and there is that conflict between religion and the federal states, we find it somehow very, very difficult, and we develop fear, because we do not know what will befall us. We do not know what will befall us. And we are praying that these things can actually be adhered to, so that those who are believers can be left to actually believe in what they believe in and speak freely in what they believe in. Otherwise, I know these things are actually very critical to some people. I know there could be other people who are supporting the destruction of religious freedom, and there are those who are actually pro-religious freedom. And I think we need actually to focus on these things in a more sobriety way, so that we all may arrive at an amicable solution. But personally, I feel that this freedom should not actually be deprived from anyone. People need to have that freedom of worshiping, that freedom of actually speaking of what they believe in, that freedom of, learning the things of God freely right from the pulpit, and letting the Spirit of God actually flow freely. Otherwise, I know this is actually true, and I'm looking forward again to see you next time. And I know especially this is time I do not need to, enjoy or maybe inflict pain to those who may not actually be supporters of this guy. But it's not that I'm actually campaigning for him, because how can I campaign for him? I'm a Kenyan. But this is my honest opinion relative to what I believe in, that I feel even my own president should do so, should protect this freedom of religion, because at all costs, most of our nations, especially Kenya, we sing the national anthem, and that national anthem, it's a prayer. Oh God of all creation, it's a prayer, and why shouldn't we have this religious freedom? Why shouldn't we give people freedom to worship and speak freely on what they actually, believe in? Because our founding fathers themselves actually built this nation under the etiquettes and principles of religion. The foundation of this country was actually upon the foundations of religion. And that's why that national anthem, every now and then when we sing it in our country, Kenya, my beloved country, when we sing it, oh God of all creation, bless this, our land and nation. It's a prayer that we pray, that justice be our shield and defender, plenty be found within our borders, that Kenya may be actually great, and Kenya may be actually be respected in other nations. That is a prayer of all Kenyans wherever they are. Okay, it is actually in our national anthem. In our national anthem. And then why should we have this thing free? But we are blessed because this country is privileged. We are free indeed. Even religion is being taught in school. If you are Muslim, you'll take an Islamic classes in school. If you are Hindu, you'll take Hindu classes in school. If you are Christian, you'll take CRE, Christian Religious Education, in school. So that is what it is, and we are praying that freedom should be there as we live harmoniously and amicably and respect each other's belief. And that is what should be protected. And I think that is what President Trump actually signed during his time. Otherwise, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to see you again next time. And I know as our brothers and sisters in America have been preparing for their elections, we wish them well. And always say, please be peaceful and stay safe. Thank you very much. God bless you.